My name is Abby Borman.
Tyler Lane is my name.
So I'm Callie Tasher.
I went to MSUM for my Bachelor of Science degree in physics, minor in astronomy, emphasis in biomedical physics. I went between the years of 2010 and 2014, graduated in the spring of 2014.
I was an honors apprentice, show presenter, show developer, and observing session assistant when I worked at the planetarium. I graduated in spring 2022 with a degree in chemistry, and I currently work in the quality control lab at Swanson Health Products in Fargo.
Later, I went on to get a graduate degree, a master's degree in electrical engineering, and later on went to go do work in the world of government or private industry for engineering. The planetarium timeframe for when I was at school, I took my first intro to astronomy course with Dr. Craig. It was really awesome, and learned in the planetarium doing the testing of the stars and the constellations and such. And I thought that'd be a really cool, neat job to do. I've just always been attracted to astronomy and space sciences since a very young age. I've always thought planetariums were very unique in a sense. It's a fancy movie theater where you're not just showing a movie, but you're capturing imagination of actual things that are out in the cosmos, which is very, very cool, very rewarding to study and learn about those things. Summarizing, since my second semester in my undergraduate degree, spring of 2011 it would have been, through 2014 and even a little bit into 2015, I was helping with the planetarium and even doing some training and public shows to help out until they had more people trained, because I was going to be leaving the area within a year or two of my last 2 years of graduate school. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
I worked at the planetarium from January 2018 to May 2021. I considered my title the assistant to the planetarium director. I had kind of a catch-all of jobs. So I did some writing, I did some presenting, I did some event planning. I sometimes would just cut up stickers for a couple of hours, whatever needed to get done.
I was initially drawn to the planetarium because I was looking for an honors apprentice position, and I thought that working for the planetarium sounded like it would be cool and interesting.
I mean, it's the closest thing you can get to looking at stars without actually going outside in the middle of the night. We don't always think about how the sky isn't always accessible to everyone. There's plenty of places across the world and across the US where you can't just go outside and look up and see all of the stars, whether that's from light pollution or whether you're in a big city, or maybe the weather even sometimes can keep things from clouding up. So when I first started there, I think the only non-STEM major, and there was most of the other workers were all studying astrophysics. And so me coming in as a English education major, it was definitely, I think, an adjustment. But I think looking at how the planetarium looked when I left, we brought in tons of different majors across all different sorts of backgrounds, and I think it really helped kind of expand our content.
Just my interest in astronomy and space since a very young age, and initially I thought I was going to be doing astrophysics within the physics realm, but that didn't pan out how I'd wanted to, which I'm not upset. I'm glad I went and tried that. But just the whole thing of space astronomy, and then in the planetarium, a sense to visualize and actually show it and see it. It's almost like, touching with your hands in a sense. So it's a more hands-on feel with the planetarium.
Definitely show development. As part of my honors apprenticeship scholarship, I created a show based on the orchestral piece The Planets by Gustav Holst. And in this show, I discussed the history, mythology, and the music of Holst's work, The Planets, while taking the audience on a tour of the solar system. I was also able to use my skills as a violinist by incorporating live music performance into the show. I presented this show multiple times for the public, and it was very well received. I even spoke about it at a variety of regional conferences and a national planetarium conference in New York. Working on the show allowed me to combine the sciences and humanities, which is one of my favorite things to do.
Overall, just getting to know my professors and fellow colleagues very well in such a smaller, more unique environment. It was smaller. It was more of a tight-knit group of, everyone knew everybody. And so that, along with the planetarium and doing outreach events and doing the teaching and the training, it was all within that realm of the most gratifying experience. I'd say more so actually with the public shows than doing the training. I like the public shows more, especially around like the holidays, and you'd have different themes of different shows that you could do and talk about different things. It was always very, very fun for me and very gratifying, especially with kids in the audience asking the best questions. Those are probably the most gratifying experiences that I've had.
My favorite thing was Laser Fest, and I'm so sad that I had to miss it my last couple of years because of COVID. And honestly, just kind of the camaraderie that you get with the planetarium, where it's like you get to know people a lot, you make friends, you kind of get to goof around with each other. And it was just a really fun time.
When we went from the older model to the new projection style, so I was kind of there during that transition, learning both the old and new systems, which was really fun. So starting to play with the new system and getting it all set up and playing around with it, especially with like some type of hand game controller, was really fun. I could walk around and do things as I'm presenting, which was really fun. And then when they started doing the laser shows within the planetarium, those are just fun. Music and lights. It's it's a rock concert in a planetarium. So those are probably my favorite memories of like the upgrades and the new cool things that are coming to planetariums and things of that nature personally.
I have a lot of great memories from working at the planetarium, so it's kind of hard to choose. One of my favorites was traveling and presenting at the Live Interactive Planetarium Symposium National Conference in New York. Attending and presenting at a conference like that was a really valuable experience for me and an opportunity I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been so involved in the planetarium. I also really just enjoyed working with the people at the planetarium. We had a lot of fun, even just with weekly staff meetings. By bringing me out of my shell. Prior to working there, I wasn't very comfortable with putting myself out there in front of people, but being a show presenter helped me gain confidence in public speaking and sharing my ideas with other people.
It proved that I still had a passion for space and astronomy. Kept it alive, kept it kindled after I didn't want to do astrophysics. I was admittedly a little lost in what I wanted to do, but I still did the planetarium work because I really enjoyed it, and I liked sharing that information with the general public, and that ultimately still kept me, like I said, kind of rekindled, kept my spirit, my fire alive somewhat, to keep pushing and keep applying for internships with NASA, which I eventually did get one. And long story short, had a couple more opportunities here and there, another internship with NASA, and one more following, and then finally turned it into a full-time position with the Johnson Space Center down in Houston, where I'm at now. So that's probably part of it. Is it was still a big enough interest and hobby that I wanted to stay active in it, and finally, as you could say, finally caught a break and got my internship that I really needed to reignite the spark even further. So.
It's a community space, and I mean, it can be used for such a variety of things. We've shown that, especially in the past few years when I was there, I noticed a lot of times that it wasn't just a space for learning about astronomy. Sure, that was one of the purposes and a vital purpose of the planetarium, was having our astronomy classes and our shows to the public all about science and astronomy, but we also started incorporating concerts and laser light shows and all sorts of different things in the planetarium that brought the community together in this more intimate space. We had movie nights there with film clubs. It was very much just a unique gathering space.
Planetariums are really unique spaces. Probably the most conventional purpose is for science outreach, like through public programming and school field trips. But I think planetariums can also serve as places for the arts, whether that's film, visual art, or music. Throughout my time at the MSUM Planetarium, I saw that it can serve as a venue for both science and humanities outreach, not only for MSUM, but also for the wider community.
I would see a planetarium, it's used as a tool to pass on information in a very visual representation and understanding of just how big or small, in the sense of Earth, how small Earth is compared to other items just in our own solar system and the cosmos, let alone. So one purpose I'd say is definitely it's a tool for learning, and everyone can learn about space. I mean, we're all under the same, in the northern hemisphere, we're all under the same sky. And so, when we all go outside and look at the stars on a clear night, we're all connected in that sense. And it'd be cool if everyone knew a little bit more about, we're all here on this chunk of rock floating in space, but what's actually out there, and letting everyone have some basic understanding of that.